Hello all, welcome back to the channel. Today yet a breeding update from the aviary and from the birds breeding indoor. I got a request from one of our viewers to name all the birds, so today I tried to do it throughout the video. And of course we will see many of the birds just released a few days ago in the big aviary. Not only have we entered September month, but actually the weather is starting to look a lot like fall. In Denmark, this means that not only the temperature is falling, but also we have a lot of rain these days, and sometimes quite heavy rain. And unfortunately, the heavy rain has impacted the breeding. Quite a few finches and softbills are still breeding, but many of the birds have already begun molding, and I've begun planning when to take indoor the most heat-demanding birds. But besides all these practical issues, I'm still enjoying all the birds very much, especially on days like this, where we have some sun and calm weather. My pair of white-cheeked turagos have tried several times this year, but all the eggs seem to be infertile. I think they have had 3 attempts. They just let 2 new eggs besides the 2 old, but it doesn't really seem they have begun incubating them. So perhaps they have stopped for this year. It is still a very young pair, only 2 years old, both of them, so I'm quite sure they will come back strong. My Asia tit male have been alone for almost 2 years now, but I just found a new female for him, so that's going to be very exciting. They usually breed around late April to May and June, so nothing will happen until next year. And another sole bird I had was my rural male partridge. He has also been alone for the entire year, but I just found him a very young female, so that's very exciting as well. But she will not be adult until next year, so come spring next year, hopefully they will breed as well. And here we have the Sudan golden sparrow male. He has begun to mold and to take some time off. It's very well deserved after he had 2 or 3 clutches this year. As you may have seen already, I also got some new canary birds. I've covered those in another video, so we don't use much time on those today. Even though I have had several canary bird pairs breeding through the summer, I'm looking forward to breed most of them during the winter when all the softbills are on a break. In this way, I can actually prolong the breeding season with different kind of species throughout the entire year. So there's always someone on break and someone breeding, and that's very exciting for me and hopefully as well for you. My indoor pair of blue-eared starlings had this wonderful chick some weeks ago. In the meantime, it had fledged, and it's a wonderful chick doing very good, and already it's almost eating by itself. My small flock of village weavers have been breeding throughout the summer. 2 chicks have already fledged in 2 different attempts, but the last attempt failed due to the heavy rain, so I lost 2 quite big chicks, unfortunately. A few weeks back, I got a Luzon bleeding heart female dove. I've been looking for one for the entire year, as I had 2 males back, and now they've begun breeding already, so that's very interesting to see. Nevertheless, I don't put too much hope into this attempt. I think it's so short time since they've been paired up, so I don't think they will succeed, also because it's quite late in the breeding season already. But during the winter, they will have much time to get to know each other, so next spring, I'm quite sure they will be a good match and a good breeding pair. Contrary to this, my pair of Grenadiers actually do have chicks at the moment, but the chicks from this specimen often seems quite fragile when they fledge, so I'm not sure they will survive so late in the fall. But let's wait and see, and fingers crossed, of course. As always, much will depend on the weather, and unfortunately this night we will have even more rain, and it seems also a lot of thunder. Whatever happens, I was very happy to see that they are willing to breed and they can succeed in it, as this is a first-time breed for me. As you know, I have many different kinds of both finches, but also softbills. And for the softbills, I use lots and lots of frozen insects, especially during the breeding season. And as many of you have asked for it, in the end of this video, I'll show you more detailed which specific insects I provide for the birds and where I get them. And as you can see in many of my videos, not only the softbills, but also waxbills, finches, canary birds, major goldfinches, actually my cockatoos as well, the canary birds, and also the budgies, all love to feed on insects. I actually do think that this is a common mistake for many finch breeders and a reason for many failing attempts on especially the African finches. It's very easy to forget this when you see the birds feeding on seeds, but in the wild most finches eat lots of insects in the breeding season, and they do need and require all these animal proteins for a successful rearing of the chicks. In my aviary also the red siskin and the black siskins, as we see here, eat lots of insects. My pair of black siskins, first time breed for me, had this nest with 3 eggs, all fertile. They should have had today or yesterday, but a few days ago, again, a lot of rain, as I told you. And for whatever reason during night, the parents got scared and the female left the eggs, so now they are dead. Either they will have a new go outdoor, or I will move them indoor soon and see if they will breed indoor, but hopefully they will try again. Luckily, I've had more success with the star finches. They already have several chicks and now they are on eggs again. Hopefully the majority of the chicks will be female, as I have, I think, only one adult female and several adult males. Another of the species that have had much success breeding this year is the yellow-crowned bishop weaver. You have a male here. I have a flock of, I think, 3 males and up to 10 females, and they have been producing chicks and nests throughout the summer. I think they will stop soon because of the weather, but just now they had a new chick in this nest. Down here they have 3 eggs in another nest, and actually in a wooden box they produced a nest as well, with also some eggs right now. And even though the adult birds eat lots of seeds and needs sprouted seeds to get into breeding mode, they can't rear the chicks unless they have a lot of insects. The same goes for the village weaver. It actually seems they rear the chicks entirely on insects and no seeds at all. Actually, when I think about it, none of the birds you see in this video skip insects if they are provided to them. They all love the insects and the animal protein. Of course, with some birds of the more domesticated species, like the budgies and the canary birds, you can use egg foods instead to give the protein, but most of the softbills need the real insects to be able to feed the chicks. But it's also very important to remember that outside the breeding season, they shouldn't be fed with so much protein all the time. Even the softbills, depending on the insects, are provided less insects outside of the breeding season. This goes as well for the finches, no matter if they are from Australia, Asia or Africa. When the breeding season is ending, you should remove more or less all the animal protein for a short time to get the birds into the molting condition. In the same period, I stopped providing the green foods, sprouted seeds, salads, etc. Meaning that they still are provided some now and then, but not at all in the same amounts as when the breeding season is coming and when the breeding season is ongoing. My major goldfinches had one attempt early in the summer, but the chicks died within 1 or 2 days, and just after this attempt, all 3 adult birds went into mold. A good example showing that no matter what you do with the food, you can't control the molding completely. All 3 birds are now looking perfect in the feathers, so hopefully they will begin breeding when I take them indoors soon. At the same time, I'm looking for more major goldfinches, as I have become quite fascinated with the bird. Even though I'm enjoying as much time as possible in the outdoor aviary, I've begun cleaning up and making ready all the cages in the indoor birdhouse, as I will soon begin to bring indoor some of the most heat-demanding birds. Of course, I'm looking forward to showing this to you as well in one of my next videos. In the coming weeks, I'll look and follow closely the outdoor birds to see how they're doing when the weather gets cold. I'm also monitoring very closely the weather forecast so I can begin to take the birds indoor as soon as it's required. And as promised before, I'll now show you a bit more about the insects and where I get them. Please note that this is not a paid commercial, it's my own and true opinion. Buy my frozen insects and fruits from Rob Webber. He's a great guy and extremely service-minded. Probably most relevant for you if you live in Denmark, Sweden, Norway or Germany. I'll put a link in the comment section below this video so you can go and visit his shop. And now back to the insects. One of the most preferred and by far the one I buy the most of is the Finches, loved by both finches and small softbills. Also the crickets are very good, more for the softbills than the finches though. I always try to do a very broad selection for the birds. The Hemitia is a larvae from a fly. It's not the preferred for any of the birds, but they do eat it and it's good for them due to different nutritions. The mealworms is known by most of you, I guess, but actually the brown mealworms are very bad for young birds as they are very hard to digest. But the way these frozen mealworms are processed make them more digestible, so they can actually be used for young birds as well. The buffalo worms are also known as micro mealworms, more easy to digest than the real mealworms, and especially the small birds and finches love these small buffalo worms. In the other end of the scale we have these giant mealworms, Sorbus morio, and actually it's not a mealworm at all. You can buy these as live worms as well. They are no good to small birds due to the size, but especially big birds and big softbills love them. A special treat for the softbills, both small and big actually, are these waxworms. It's as small as the Asiatids, the bearded reedlings and the white eyes love these. And sometimes you can have problems with the white eyes trying to feed small chicks with these giant worms. They are very rich in nutrition, but also fat, so you can't provide too many of those. But at the same time, it's the most expensive of the insects, so that fits well together. And I only use 1 package of waxworms for every 10 packets of other insects. The red runners is a small beetle I use a lot together with the crickets when I try to foster some of the softbills. And many of the medium-sized softbills like these very much, but none of the finches take them, at least not to my knowledge. The final of the frozen insects I provide are the bee drone larvae from honeybees. It really seems these are like candy to most of the softbills, both the large ones and the small ones. And even some of the finches take these. What I do is I usually mix up all the different kind of insects and provide them in a mixture for the birds, so they are forced to take a bit of everything and can't just choose their own favorites. And for this reason I don't give them new insects before they have eaten everything, or at least close to everything from the earlier feeding. But you need to be aware though, if some of the insects are left behind, you need to remove it all before the next day. As frozen insects, I also catch a lot of insects in this insect catching lamp during night and provide those for the birds as well. And from time to time they are fed with live mealworms, morio worms, the giant mealworms and the micro mealworms. Especially for the softbills, besides the live insects and the frozen insects, I also provide a lot of different fruits. I always have mixtures like this in my freezer. I hope all this information on the food I provide was helpful, and as always, please let me know if you have any comments or questions. I hope you enjoyed the entire video. Thank you. Bye bye.